Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Meg and I'm a student ambassador here at Macquarie University, and I'm currently studying a Masters in Research in Environmental Science. Today's session is going to give us a snapshot into the Masters of Information Technology in Cybersecurity program here at Macquarie, and it will showcase some of the career options, future opportunities, and pathways into various career trajectories, such as being a cybersecurity analyst or even a security consultant. Joining us today, we have Dr. Alireza Jalafi and Mr. Hayat Sahukan, who will talk with us about the degree and potential career pathways. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of country throughout Australia and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to them and their culture and elders past, present and future. So now I will get Dr. Jalafi and Mr. Sahukan to introduce themselves to you guys so that you can get to know them and their position in the cybersecurity world.
Thank you, Megan, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on cybersecurity from Macquarie University. My name is Alireza, and I'm the program leader of Master of IT in Cybersecurity here with the Department of Computing at Macquarie University. And I also convene units on digital forensic, offensive security, and applied cryptography.
And would you be able to introduce yourself to Mr. Sahukan?
Sure. My name's Howard Sahukan. I work for an organisation called Orange Business Services. We're a large French organisation. We take care of managed IT services for high-value multinational customers. My role is Deputy Head of Enterprise Solutions Centre within APAC. We take care of cybersecurity and UC services within the region. Now, what I encourage people to do throughout this session is to listen to the questions that's been asked, but also make sure you do your research afterwards about what we do and how we do things in the cybersecurity world. The answers we give in this short seminar is an introduction of your future ahead. Use it well and good luck. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So there's definitely a lot of experience between these two gentlemen, which is awesome and great for us to be able to have for this session. So now I'm going to pass over to Dr. Jalafi, who's going to take us through a presentation on the Masters of Information Technology with Cybersecurity. Thank you.
Before I start, I would like to briefly explain about, what cybersecurity is really about. Imagine a beautiful day like today that you're watching this seminar. So, perhaps you're using your laptop, to watch this webinar. You're using electricity to power up and charge your laptop. Perhaps before this webinar, you prepared your coffee with your coffee machine. You might have taken a shower in the morning. So if you see a day of your life, you see everything is very interconnected. You see a connection or combination of lots of infrastructure that is involved in your daily life. You use lots of telecommunication infrastructure, lots of communication infrastructure. You use public transportation system. You use power, energy to run your electricity, to run your refrigerator, to run your laptop. You use water, this water management system. So if you look at all these systems from a broader perspective, you will notice that they mostly have a communication and computation aspect in it. There is a larger scale of things or smart things that help us control and manage these infrastructure. And the moment that computer engineers developed new ways of connecting these systems into one another. Let me say perhaps the first step was Ethernet protocol. From that moment, we see a huge, surface for attacks from people who have lots of intent. They want to make some, let's say, perturbation, let's say in your financial status. They want to make some perturbation in your energy consumption. They want to make cascading failure. All sort of these huge attacks. And because of that, when the moment that we see, everything or Internet of Everything or life as an example, we see cybersecurity is a very broad and important area for life. Just to give you an example, just a year ago, the amount of cyber incident, particularly in Australia, was so huge that the total cost for defending those cyber attacks was more than $450 billion. And it is also predicted that the trajectory of cyber incidents globally, the cost to defeat that is about 2 trillion US dollars. So you can see the demand in the market, in the real world, that's why we need cybersecurity. And these security issues are very broad. I mean, they cover a wide range of things, not just only the digital aspect. It can be physical aspects because we're dealing with lots of critical infrastructure in industry, automation, and control systems. Perhaps it could be related to human psychology. There is an interesting notion or term that is called vishing, that even people can call you over the phone and try to fool you to pass your important information to them. So you can see it touches a wide range of areas. So the moment that we speak about the security of cyberspace, it doesn't just involve the security of the digital data. It's very broad. Perhaps this figure that I'm showing in here can better represent the range of adversarial perturbation that could happen within this domain. As I explained, security is a huge issue. Particularly in Australia, we've got data that in 2000, just to give you an example, just in 2016, about 40% of the jobs that were advertised for cybersecurity, they remained vacant. Industry wasn't able to recruit the right talent for those roles. So this shows that we have a big gap in the required skill for this particular industry. We still don't have the right amount of graduates to fill in this gap. And Australia particularly is doing very terrible in this aspect. I mean, there was a survey in 2016, and it shows that Australia is actually top of the list, in terms of shortage of cybersecurity professionals. And it is very interesting to know that, because of all this demand and, all these shortages, I mean, on the good side, I mean, if somebody has some expertise related to cybersecurity domain, the average salary is usually much higher than a normal IT graduate. I mean, if you just do, in internet search, there are lots of websites that compare the salaries. I mean, you can see that, for example, for a job related to cybersecurity, the median salary is around $110,000. While for an IT graduate is about $94,000. So I know that for many of you, this might be a question that say, look, cybersecurity is very interesting. It's a very fascinating topic, but you might ask yourself, what would you see yourself in the next few years? These are some of the job titles that perhaps you might explore the moment that you embark on your new journey after graduation. You might want to become a security architect. You might want to become a penetration tester, incident response manager, security auditor, and many more. And for this, usually there is, this is the phase of what you need to go into, basically. So the moment you study with us, you are in the pre-professional phase. That means that you are exploring new opportunities. You're trying to gain more theoretical aspects and also the required tools or skills that you need for the real industry market. So you are in the pre-professional phase. And the moment that you finish your degree with us, you go into entry-level job, and then you need to work for 4 or 5 years. Then you can go into a mid-career phase of your job. And then you enter a senior level. In this level, you have around 10 years at least work experience. And then, finally, at the end of the road, you reach to some senior leadership roles like chief information security officer or chief cybersecurity architect. So here at Macquarie, we actually had a vision from a couple of years ago that we saw this gap in the market and we could see what the future of the cybersecurity is. So we initiated a joint collaboration with a couple of industry partners. One of those is Optus, which is one of the main telecommunication providers in Australia. And we had over $10 million joint investment, and we have a cybersecurity center with them. And we took their advice in order to draft and make a new program that can fill in this shortage of skills to tackle the problem that we have right now in the industry. And we started our journey from 2017, that we first created a major in cybersecurity, and then we expanded it out by, through the Faculty of Art, by having a Master of Cybersecurity. And last year, we started our Master of IT in Cybersecurity in the Department of Computing. And this year, we started our Bachelor of Cybersecurity. And while we designed our master's program, we kept in mind that we should follow the recent cybersecurity curriculum guides. We try to develop it with respect to industry need and certifications, and try to develop our programs in a way that can help our students to be successful if they want to follow up a career later on in industry. And we try to keep in mind that this program should cover a wide range of topics, because cybersecurity is very broad. So this is an overview of what our program look like. As you can see, if you decide to take for Master of IT in Cybersecurity, you need to complete 160 credit points, which is divided into 3 major categories: foundation zone, core zone, and flexible zone. That in the foundation zone, we teach you basically the essential units that you require, such as applied cryptography, that teaches you about the basics of crypto protocols that is mainly used in industry. We have a unit on offensive security that you basically learn about basics of penetration testing, mainly for the system, web applications, and networking. We have data communication, and wide range of IT related and also non-IT related. If you happen to, like more human aspects, for example, we have units that talk about the human psychology, human aspects, human factors that is important in maintaining the integrity or in maintaining the privacy of the information. Another question that you might ask is that, okay, how can you be successful? So in my opinion, as of now, because you're watching this webinar, I think you already have that passion. So I suggest you to keep your passion, to have a big dream. Try to make yourself involved with any technical and non-technical workshop or lecture that you see happening around you yourself. When you come to Macquarie, we actually organize many of such workshops to help you expand your network. Try to attend the mentoring and coaching workshop. Try to maintain a good relation with your industry partners. Try to attend industry visits. And quite often it happens that many of the job opportunities come from these mentoring, coaching events, come from these technical seminars. You might meet some interesting people who are fascinated in who you are and who might be able to offer you some opportunities to explore more. So that's what I wanted to talk about, Megan. Now I hand it back to you for the rest of the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Lathi. I know I definitely learned a few things about how heavily involved cybersecurity things are in just my general life. And it definitely sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for work in a variety of industries in terms of cybersecurity, which I'm sure the students are really encouraged to hear as well. My first question to you, Dr. Jalathi, and to you, Mr. Sakupin, sorry. It seems like cybersecurity is such a hot topic now and can be involved with many aspects of our lives. And I'm pretty sure that students are quite passionate about this industry and feel quite inspired by the diversity of options ahead. Could you tell us what it's really like to be a cybersecurity specialist? And maybe if you can touch on, as much as you can, about what their daily jobs could look like and maybe what some of the projects that they could be involved in doing through this kind of course and career pathway.
Sure, I guess I'll answer that question, Megan. So understanding what a role for a cybersecurity specialist is and getting the mindset right. So just to start off, to talk about the role in general, a cybersecurity specialist is a role that takes care of all the tiers within an ICT. Fundamentally or historically, people think cybersecurity is about managing network infrastructure, security infrastructure. It's not. That is the legacy. So it's moved on from that to an overall ICT management. So from a day-to-day opportunity or role, what we need to understand is what makes cybersecurity work for an organization. You need to have visibility on the network. So part of their job, a majority of their work is around monitoring the network. If you know or have visibility in the network, you can act. Then you report on what you see. So reporting is a key fundamental of that as well. Then you present the information to come up with actions as to how you're going to harden the service or remediate any threats you see in the network. Now, projects that take place in the cybersecurity role, majority of the projects, if it's true cybersecurity, is around improving or introducing new technologies that we call enhanced services within cybersecurity. So maybe, moving to a new platform of a SIEM, which is a, security incident event management platform or tool or service. It may be working on a ethical hack, which is a legitimate attack from the outside to expose the vulnerabilities in the environment as a project, and then you work towards remediation. Working with tools like Qualys, which is a market leader, working with tools like QRadar and ArcSight to understand what's going on in the environment and the network to better manage it and to better secure it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So I guess maybe another question to flow on from that is, we've heard that there's a lot of roles like cybersecurity analyst and information security analyst. It may be quite confusing as to which one goes to kind of which area of specialty, because there's so many types of analysts within the industry. So could you maybe touch on the difference between them and maybe what kind of skill sets would be needed for the various roles?
Sure. So although the roles are titled differently, they do have an interlock, which is pretty much digital information, which sits in the middle. So as I mentioned earlier in the question, cybersecurity is a fundamental across all of the towers within security. Now, whether that's network, whether that's messaging, whether that's UC or unified comms, cyber security sits on top of all of those and manages that organization, manages all of those organizations' security posture. Information security, via the term, is about ensuring the data is kept safe. Now, in information security, they talk about CIA. Now, that's not the CIA we think of. CIA in cybersecurity is all about confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. So although the roles are very similar in terms of skill sets, the information security specialist deals primarily on keeping the organization's information secure, whereas the cybersecurity analyst looks at hardening the services for all of the organization's IT. Now that could be a phone service, that could be a website that's prone to, say, an SQL injection, which is someone putting malicious code through a search engine, for instance. Now, information analysts won't look at that. Cybersecurity person looks at that to make sure that doesn't affect the environment. But if that infection hits the data or the data store, the information analyst gets involved to make sure there's no disruption to the data. Because an organization, if their data is compromised, confidentiality, if it's leaked, is that data as valuable as it was before? The integrity of data, if someone gets in and manipulates the data, they make decisions based on factual data. Now there's a risk on decision making as well. And we talk about availability. Availability isn't about the data being there on a secure, highly available infrastructure. You could have multiple sources of the data on different drives. But if someone puts something like a BitLocker on there and locks out the data, is it truly available? So that's a different mindset when you look at those two different roles.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess maybe flowing on from that, I would love if you both could touch on how one could kind of decipher which one would be better suited for their passions. So maybe you can talk about what kind of passions would better suit certain degrees and how they could pursue that within doing a Masters of Cybersecurity or Masters of Information Technology.
So to answer this question, Megan, I think the first thing that our students need to think of, they need to see what they see themselves by the time that they finish the degree with us. What is their wish? Do they see themselves as somebody who wants to do, let's say, penetration testing? Do they see themselves as a person who loves to find the security vulnerabilities, let's say in banking app, who loves to find vulnerabilities in traffic control system, just for the sake of protecting the network with respect to adversarial attacks? Do they see themselves more leaning towards law perspective? So they need to see which aspect of cybersecurity, because cybersecurity touches a very broad area. It can be related to law, can be related to e-commerce, could be related to human factors, could be related to digital information. The moment they identify these, then they can better navigate their program with us here at Macquarie University. And we do all our best, because we understand what the concern of our student is, and what they are wishing for, and their success is what we want here at Macquarie University. And our aim is to help them to better find themselves and find what they really want to do in their future. So the area is very broad. I can give you an example. For example, one of the unit that here we teach at Macquarie is very interesting unit, is about hacking. So in this unit, we teach students how to find the security vulnerabilities and how to escalate a privilege or create an exploit from an ethical perspective, and how they can mitigate these problems. Or another type of unit that we teach is about digital forensic investigations, which is a unit for those students who wish to become a forensic detective, let's say, who want to work for the police department in the forensic analysis section. They just, perhaps they might be asked in the future that they have to do a raid get the computers, capture a forensically sound copy of the digital information from the suspect's computer, and analyze and identify hidden information, hidden files. So the area is very broad, and as I pointed out in the beginning of my talk, this touches a wide range of topics. I mean, it's not just about digital information. It can be, in the human aspect, it can be industry automation control system, which hasn't been touched, in my opinion, that much. And the more we get more interconnected, the security issues, let's say in the wastewater, in Sydney wastewater system, the security issues in the MyKey system, transportation traffic control system. All of them are, in my opinion, areas that hasn't been touched that much. And Australia is like a place in an island that we feel that because we are far away from everywhere else, we are physically secure. But this is a wrong assumption because now world is getting more connected. Internet is everywhere. And people are more focusing into the market in Australia. And we should be more careful.
Sure. So thank you for that, Ali. Um, so what I would like to say is, from a student's perspective, when you're studying, you think you have an idea of what you want to do in the future. I think we've all been there throughout our collective degrees and post-graduate courses and certifications and so on. The basis of what I preach to our new staff or people looking for work through internships or just through social events and so on, or workshops, is I make sure they put themselves in a position where they've got exposure to various platforms, various disciplines or specialization within an organization. Now, cybersecurity is a very general term. Cybersecurity encompasses a lot of what Ali has said. Now, cybersecurity is emerging in the Internet of Things, as Ali has said, where we get environmental factors, captured through various sensors, put into, a repository where information is then used to make business decisions, and that becomes a cybersecurity organization type of role, as well as an information security analyst, making sure that data is not compromised. What I would suggest is making sure at an entry point you move into a role that has exposure to all of those disciplines or all of those deep dive activities within cyber defense. A cyber security role at an entry level that exposes you to specialists that run ethical hacks, that run vulnerability assessments through Qualys, that make sure there's hardening of services throughout all of the different towers, and it gives you an idea of where you want to go as a specialist. I think for new students, moving into the master's degree, there's a lot of opportunity within cybersecurity. A clear indication is what America is doing today. Now, America is our big brother in many ways. We look at them, and we'll soon see those market trends moving into Australia. As Ali mentioned, the trends are a little bit delayed into Australia because we have less threats. As we move to a more cloud-based, internet-based organisation or country, that's only going to grow. If you look at the recent government alerts to businesses as well as individuals, we've had attacks on the New South Wales government, for instance, which we wouldn't have had a few years ago, but that's growing. So there's opportunities. To be part of that opportunity pool, you need to put yourself in a position where you can move into one of those specialized roles. And the best way to do that is have a generalist starting point, then find a direction through your skill set, through your university degree or other certifications, then you move into that. You strengthen your overall skills and capabilities.
Yeah, wonderful. So I guess my last question for you both is, cybersecurity sounds like it can be pretty intense and pretty difficult at points. But would you maybe be able to touch on briefly some of the really fun aspects of being involved in this industry, both from like an academic perspective and as someone actually in the kind of industry? I think that'd be really encouraging for students to kind of hear what things that they could potentially do that are really enjoyable through this course.
Sure. I think the first thing is a misconception. Being a cybersecurity specialist doesn't make you boring. Doesn't make you, I guess, a inspector or a police or some sort of, secret service type individual. A cybersecurity specialist has an interest in making sure things are protected well, and they just have an interest in, Ali mentioned earlier, forensics isn't just with the police or the federal police or an organisation similar to that. Forensics sits everywhere, so it's a matter of interest of that individual. Now, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you could be any of those professions, and you've got your fun side and your serious side of the business. Now, as a team and as an organisation, people perform differently, and organisations also have different different ways they encourage and have fun in the organisation itself. Now, what I suggest to individuals is, depending on their character and their personality, make sure before joining an organisation you read up about them, find out what sort of social events they have, find out what their corporate culture is like, and so on. If it doesn't fit, and this is not at an entry point when you're entering the organisation or entering cyber defence, you can't be as fussy. You need to be realistic about the opportunities you get, and they'll be limited. But when you progress and you do have the choice, make sure the corporate culture, make sure the social club, make sure the organisation in general suits your personality. Right? So from our perspective, when we have a social event, whether it's a coffee session outside of work, whether it's 10-pin bowling, whether it's going to the movies, dinner, or an event of similar, outside of work experience, we don't talk about what we've done at work. We don't talk about, the fundamentals of cybersecurity globally or the market trends and so on. It's just being out there having fun, right? So you've really got to differentiate what you do at work and what you do sort of to have fun. And the best way to do that is make sure the corporate fit fits in with your personality and your lifestyle as well. Otherwise, you will struggle, depending on where you are.
Yeah, definitely. And how about for yourself, Dr. Jalapny?
So, cybersecurity is a very fascinating area, to be honest. And I mean, the memory that I can share is perhaps from one of my classes in the offensive security unit, where I asked my students to, as a part of the class project, to explore some of the vulnerabilities that they can identify from their daily life. And it happened that a group of my students, they actually created a bot that this relates to the Victoria, of course. I mean, for a couple of years ago, that he created a bot that he could randomly generate the Opal, card numbers of people who haven't registered their Opal card, and he claimed that these cards are lost, and he could obtain the amount of fee that was already paid for that card, $100, $50. And he has shown a proof of concept that, of course, he purchased some card himself. He didn't do this attack, actually, but he just shown the proof of concept that it's very easy to shut down the whole transportation system of a metropolitan city like Melbourne by easily hacking into the transportation system and, let's say, blocking all the transport cards, and then nobody can go use the public transport. And then we actually reported this vulnerability to the transportation. So this is a very interesting area, when you talk about hacking and cybersecurity, because it's all about your thinking and thinking out of the box. And the moment that you think out of the box, you are able to find a huge surface of vulnerabilities that perhaps no one else has even looked into it. Security could be an art. In my opinion, somebody who is doing cybersecurity is learning to become an artist, future security vulnerabilities are not written in any textbook. This, of course, it doesn't mean it's very complicated. It can be as simple as a Google search, but you need to think out of the box. And this is the beauty of the cybersecurity that allows you to become an artist by using your current state-of-the-art knowledge and what you learned to build interesting things that can help the society to make it more robust to cyber attacks with respect to different fields. So cybersecurity overall is a very fascinating and interesting area, and every day of it for me is a big surprise and is actually a very interesting day for me when I actually embark on my journey as a person who works in the field of cybersecurity in an academic domain.
Well, that brings us to the end of this session on the Masters of Information Technology with Cybersecurity. Thank you so much to Dr. Jalefi and to Mr. Sahukan for joining us and for talking with us about this degree and the potential career opportunities that could be ahead. We hope that you've learned a few things and found out some more about this degree and what you could do with it. It definitely sounds like a really interesting and diverse industry to get involved with. If you do have any more questions, we encourage you to book a one-on-one consultation where you can answer all these questions that you may have about this degree or anything else at Macquarie. But also if you want to find out more about being a postgraduate student here at Macquarie University. So thanks again for joining us. Please use the link on the screen to book a consultation and we hope to see you soon. Thanks.